of Jerusalem and sowed salt in the furs, and changed the name of Jerusalem to Alia Capitolina, and changed the name of Israel to Palestine after Israel's ancient enemy, the Philistines. And the church looked at that and said, oh, the Jews are forever forsaken.
That's right.
They are no longer relevant. Evidently, all those promises in the Old Testament to the Jews are our promises. We have become the chosen people.
And J.R., that's an important point, because allegorical interpretation became fashionable. Allegorizing Israel as the church. And we could say much about that. But I wanted at this point to mention Irenaeus, who lived from 130 to 202. And Irenaeus, in Against Heresies, wrote, and I've quoted a long passage here which we don't have time to read, but essentially he says, and I'm reading the last few words, and God brought to a conclusion upon the sixth day the works that he had made, and God rested upon the seventh day from all his works. This an account of things formerly created, as also it is a prophecy of what is to come, for the day of the Lord is as 1,000 years, and in 6 days created things were completed. It is evident, therefore, that they will come to an end at the 6,000th year. Now, in so writing, he was stating a popular theory, but basically what he was doing was pushing back the time of Christ's coming to some point, and they weren't really decided about it. They didn't exactly know when the 6,000th year was, but at this point they were saying he's not coming soon.
That's true. They did not know that they had just crossed the threshold of the fourth millennium into the fifth millennium, because they didn't have the historical evidence. There weren't historians around. They didn't have great research staff and what have you, and history, especially Roman history. They changed their calendar so many times with every Caesar that came along. They had a different way of calculating, and it was not until many years later that all of this was able to be put back together, and to see that Adam was created 4,004 years BC, essentially.
All they knew, J.R., was that there would be a considerable length of time, and the job was no longer to watch and wait on a daily basis, but rather to live as the salt of the earth.
Yes, and look for the second coming maybe in another generation, somewhere down the road in the far distant future. And those poor folks at Thessalonica who thought he was coming imminently, and the poor Apostle Paul who thought the Antichrist was going to show up in the temple, and of course he died in 66, and the temple was destroyed 4 years later, and all of that just sort of fell apart. Poor folks, they just didn't really have it all together. They didn't quite understand it. But now we can see it better. It's clear. It looks like it'll be 6,000 years. And of course, he got that from John's teaching, even at the end of the first century. And so all of this was right, but it kind of magnified the problem until prophecy became irrelevant. It'll be another 1,000 years, 2,000 years. We don't know when. But it's going to be at the end of 6,000 years.
And then came the state church. AD 312, with the Edict of Toleration, Constantine established the state church and said, okay, Christianity is legal, which sounds wonderful, until you stop and note that now the church was controlled by the state. And J.R., this was the 4th century. And then going into the 5th century, a new eschatology was developed.
Yes, and when the church became recognized by the Roman Empire, and it became a Christianized Roman Empire, those ministers patted themselves on the back and says, we've brought in the kingdom.
Yes, indeed.
Now, we don't have the king yet, but maybe he'll come at the end of the millennium, you know. Or maybe there won't be a millennium. We're going to bring the world along and convert everybody, because we've got tax money now, and we can build great cathedrals. And it was a happy day for the deluded ministers of the 3rd century.
And here's where we're going to have to end our program, because in the 5th century along came Augustine. He wrote City of God. He was an amillennialist, if you will. In Augustinian amillennialism, the present age is regarded as the predicted millennium. The tribulation is said to precede the millennium. It must already be past. And so the troubles of Israel in connection with the day of the Lord are often thought to be past tense. And so Augustine envisioned the ages as follows. Age 1, Adam to Noah. Age 2, Noah to Abraham. Age 3, Abraham to David. Age 4, David to the Babylonian captivity. Age 5, Babylonian captivity to Christ's first advent. Age 6, Christ's advent to his second advent. 6 ages, J.R., and you notice what's left out?
Israel.
Israel. No Israel.
Israel is no longer relevant. The church has taken over all of the chosen people promises, and the church is going to grow and win the world, and then Christ will come back and pat us on the back and say, good job.
Right. Now, we are stopping here at a down point, as we say. I guess we have sunk to low ebb, and I hate to leave it at this, because the rest of the story is exciting. I mean really exciting. We've talked about prophecy lost. In our next broadcast, we're going to talk about prophecy found again.
Yes. John Walvoord wrote, Augustinian amillennialism, the present age is regarded as the predicted millennium. But I want you to know it's not. Jesus is coming back, and we have arrived at the end of the 6,000 years, and we can expect the Antichrist to arise soon. We can expect the Jews are back home. We can expect them to restore their kingdom. So don't miss next week's program. This is J.R.CHURCH and Gary Stearman. Until next time, keep looking up.
Prophecy in the News is a viewer-supported ministry sponsored by our many friends across America and in your area. For your gift of $10, you can receive a special edition of our current program on audio tape, or for a gift of $20, we'll send you our programs on videotape. For either order, call the 800 number on your screen right now.